gas lines stretching for miles in some areas affected by Hurricane Sandy. How are gasoline stations, at least the ones that are open, managing the pressure? Joining us live and exclusively on the phone from Knoxville, Tennessee, Jimmy Haslam, Pilot Flying J chairman. 650 different travel and gasoline station areas all across the United States and Canada. All of them, Jimmy, in storm-affected areas open and running. How is that possible?
Everything is open and running, and Liz, as you know, our basic background is in the truck stop business, and our primary customer is the diesel customer, the trucking company, and those companies rely heavily on us to keep their trucks rolling. So we keep millions and millions of gallons in storage in either pipelines or terminals around the country, and that enables us when a hurricane or a storm or some type of extraordinary event comes up to be able to keep in product. In this case, the big push was on gasoline because of the proximity to New York City, and we have 3 travel centers in close proximity to New York City, and all of them were down max a day because of power, and then we had generators brought in, and they all have gasoline, and obviously sold a tremendous amount of gasoline the last 4 or 5 days.
Oh, well, we had a reporter at your Mahwah Travel Center, and your general manager there, Birkin Mesroyan, was just brilliant. He had everything under control, and it just seemed, and I was looking at the research on your company, and it in essence, you guys often say, I think your symbol is, you know, be prepared for anything. Jump ahead. Don't just wait for something to happen. And it appears that you have run this company precisely for crises like this. And my next question is, were these generators gasoline powered or were they natural gas? And will all of your gas stations at some point have these generators?
We probably will not. It's a substantial cost to put these generators in on the front end, and I know there's been a lot in the news, why don't stores, or whether they're convenience stores or truck stops, have these generators all the time. If you think about it, we might have this happen once a year at 5 of our locations, okay? This is an extraordinary storm, and I think everybody needs to remember that. And what we do when a storm comes up, and we track the weather very closely, and we saw that there was a high chance of a storm coming aboard somewhere between Washington and Boston. And as it began to zero in on the New York area, we positioned 7 or 8 generators in places like West Virginia, Central Pennsylvania, Western Mass. And once the storm hits, they usually declare a state of emergency, want you off the streets for a little while. And as soon as things start to clear, we'll bring electricians in that we work with around the country that know how to do this. They'll hook the generators up, and we'll be back in business. And in the case of Mahwah, which is on Route 17, right outside the city, this weekend we were one of the few stores that was up and running. 2 reasons. 1, we had the generator hooked up, and 2, we have this tremendous amount of product in storage that we can call on in times like this.
Brilliant. But you've also taken positions recently in natural gas. You bought the shale operation, or at least took a position in it in Ohio. And, you know, I'm thinking a lot, Jimmy, on the one thing that we've learned, because we had a generator, but it was running on gasoline. It started to run out. Gasoline was a real problem, as you know. So do you see a shift at some point that this is so ingrained in our psyche now of what has happened here that people may start to move to converting more cars to natural gas?
I actually think this. I think, Liz, there is a much stronger chance that the truck fleet, both over the road and trucks that go shorter routes, convert to either CNG or LNG. We have the partnership with Clean Energy and have natural gas installed, and I think 40 of our locations right now will be up to 50 by the end of the year. And at the end of 2013, we'll have a network of 100 truck stops out there that would, if a person wanted to go from Boston to California or from Miami to Seattle, we could take care of them. So we will have the network in place with natural gas to take care of trucks. There does not seem to be a huge push on cars yet. Obviously, we're going to do what the market demands, and if the market's there, then we'll have natural gas in our stores.
Jimmy, a nor'easter is now coming, at least somewhere around the eastern seaboard. Are you doing anything now to prepare for that?
I was just literally walked out of what we call a supply and distribution meeting to be on your show, Liz, and the next thing we're going to talk about is this next storm coming in. And, of course, the concern is what happened in the Northeast is when all the power, it was obvious the power was going to be down, the Colonial Pipeline that supplies most of the Northeast started pumping fuel slower than normal because They wanted to make sure there was a place for that fuel to go. It will catch up over the next few days, and so unless this storm is horrific, and I don't think it's going to be near what this last storm is, we ought to be okay. As I understand now, about 75% of the gas stations are now open in New York City, and if there's no storm threat, I would think in the next 2 or 3 days things would begin to catch up. But we are watching it very quickly. The generators all still in place.
Good.
And the other thing we do is we deploy extra transport trucks from around the country in the periphery of this area, so that if it is bad and the terminals are down, we've got a long-haul product, we'll be in position to take care of the stores and obviously the customers.
Jimmy, I will let you get back to that meeting because it's certainly an important thing right now. We've seen now more than ever. And on top of it, Jimmy owns the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, how you're keeping your eye on that and this and all that, it's unbelievable. Thank you so much for taking
Liz,
the time.
thanks for your time.
Anytime, anytime. Jimmy Haslam, the owner, actually the chairman of Pilot J Flying. You know, you look at somebody like that, and here on the back it says, a bias for action. That's their whole center of what they do. Bias for action. That's exactly what they did. They acted way in advance. They planned, and thankfully they were able to provide at least some people here with fuel. Who are Wall Street executives?